Question. Couple questions. What's the book of Genesis? What does Genesis mean? Beginning or origins. Okay. Who wrote it? Moses. When did he write it?
During the Exodus.
During the Exodus or during the wandering in the 40 years. Who did he write it to? I heard it over here. Israel. Okay. We benefit from it, but he's primarily writing to Israel. Okay. So in him writing the book of Genesis, and then he writes the first 5 books, but in particular the book of Genesis, and then Leviticus giving the law. Why is he writing this to the? I'm not, because God said so, but why is he writing this to Israel? What's he preparing Israel for?
Promised land?
The promised land, yeah. I mean, they're going to want God. Charlton Heston goes to the side of the river, and the Jello gets cut in half, and they walk through, and they go up on. He goes up on Mount Sinai, gets the 10 Commandments, comes back down. He sees them making a fool of themselves. He breaks them. He gets the other 10. Where do they go when they leave Mount Sinai?
Wander.
Well, they do, but they go somewhere else first. There's a reason why they wander. Remember what happens? They go.
To the edge of the promised land.
They go to the edge of the promised land, send the spies in, come back, and Caleb and Joshua say, "Let's go." Everybody else says, "No, there's giants, and we're grasshoppers to them." And they have a church vote, and the nays have it. So then they wander for 40 years. But God's purpose was for them to leave Mount Sinai and go into the promised land. They said no. It says, okay, you're going to wander in the desert for 40 years. All the adults die, by the way, except for Joshua and Caleb. So all of them that said no, guess what? They didn't go. But Moses is writing this, preparing Israel for the promised land. He's given them the law, he's given them a history, he's given them origins. He's giving them their context. Helping them understand their context. The wonderful thing about the Bible, you read the Bible, you begin to understand the world in which you live. You begin to understand your context. And he's given us origins in a lot of the things that what are some of the first that we've already seen? Creation, where we all come from. Okay, that's one.
Sin.
Where sin came from.
Murder.
There's another M word. Marriage. You're getting all of these things, and you're giving God's perspective on it. So when everybody else says, "Well, I think da 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 da," yeah, but God says. We're going to go with what God says. But he's given us these origins. When I was still in the pastorate and looking for churches and stuff, I learned the truth of this the hard way. But I read an article written to pastors looking at a church with the prospect of going to that church's pastor, and questions that you ought to ask. And one of the questions that it said you want to find the answer to is, where did the church come from? Find out the origin story of the church. Because a lot of times, even though you are multiple generations separated from that founding congregation, the personality and the context in which the church came into existence can carry through for generation and generation. For example, and I can tell you this because it proved to be at least anecdotally true for me, when you find a church that came out of a split away, they still have that argumentative, it's got to be my way, or I'm going to take my toys and go home attitude. And you can be 100, 150 years from that split, and you still have that. If you have a church that was birthed out of missions, guess what probably still colors who they are in that drive. So it's important to kind of know where things come from. So when he's giving us this, when Moses is giving this and handing it out to the Israelites, he's kind of like, okay, this is the beginning. You're getting some context and getting some understanding. So we have gone through the flood. They've gotten off the boat, and now, not Moses, but Noah is beginning to get himself and get his family established. And we're going to pick up in chapter 9, verse 18. I'm going to read the whole thing so that we get the big picture, and then we're going to go back and we're going to kick some things around. So this begins Genesis chapter 9, verse 18. It says, the sons of Noah who went forth from the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Parentheses. Ham was the father of Canaan. Close parentheses. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the people of the whole earth were dispersed or populated. So everybody coming out of the flood, everybody comes from these three, or actually these four. Okay. Noah began to be a man of the soil, and he planted a vineyard. He drank of the wine and became drunk and lay uncovered in his tent. He got sloppy drunk and passed out. That's what happened. Okay? And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both of their shoulders, and walked backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned backward, and they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done to him, he said, "Cursed be Canaan. A servant of servants shall he be to his brothers." He also said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. After the flood, Noah lived 350 years, and all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. Okay. Notice there was a name that I emphasized.
Canaan.
Where's Canaan?
Dead.
Where is Canaan? Where is it geographically? Canaan is what? Huh?
Wasn't it before the flood?
No. Where is Israel supposed to be going? To the promised land, which is the land of Canaan. Okay? Notice he says initially, Ham is the father of Canaan. Okay? And then he starts, and then in verse 22, and Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. Then verse 25, cursed be Canaan. And then verse 27, let Canaan be their servants. You think maybe Moses is trying to tell Israel something about somebody. Okay? Now, let's think about this. They are to go, so we know right now that who's the father of Canaan? Where does Canaan come from? Canaan comes from Ham, okay? And they are going to the land of Canaan to do what? To live, but in so doing, what are they going to do?
He'll drive out all the
They're gonna drive out all the Canaanites. Okay? Now, when, what kind of relationship does God tell Israel to have with all the people of Canaan? Not. Don't make a treaty with them. Don't make any kind of pact with them. And what do you do with them? Drive them out, destroy them, kill them. Okay, now, back up a little bit further. Genesis chapter 15, when God appears to Abraham and starts bringing Abraham around, he takes them and shows them the land of Canaan, but says what? You will not inhabit it now, but your descendants will inhabit. This is Genesis chapter 15, verse 16. He says, in fact, let's flip over there because it's just a couple verses. Right, the chapter's over. Genesis chapter 15, verse 16.
Fourth generation.
And it says in verse 16, and they shall come back, your descendants shall come back here in the fourth generation. Why? Because the iniquity of the Amorites, guess who the Amorites are? The Canaanites. They are the lead tribe of the Canaanites because the iniquity, what would be another word for iniquity? Sin. The sin of the Canaanites is not yet what? Complete. Okay, so he is going to let that sin fester for 4 generations, giving the Canaanites time to repent, but also giving them time to do what?
Sin.
Time to get worse. They got a choice. He's going to give them enough rope to hang themselves. They can either climb the rope to get out of the pit, or they can make a noose out of the rope and hang themselves. Okay. What do the Amorites do?
Keep sinning.
They keep sinning. They use that rope to make a noose around themselves. Do a little study on this as to what were the sins that the Amorites were guilty of. They were idolatrous. They worshipped all different kinds of idols. They practiced child sacrifice. They were involved in, was the question or?
Yeah. Why is he cursing Cain?
Because
he wasn't party to any of that.
Hmm?
Why is he cursing Cain? Because he wasn't party to the nakedness and covering up. His father was.
And the tree doesn't fall far from the apple.
Well, that doesn't say anything about the fruit being rotten.
God can discipline who he chooses to, and how many people is he going to discipline or punish for their sin?
All of them.
All of them, whether he's in this world or that world. There is what I want to say, I'm going to get to that as we move along. But I can't, there's a lot of things that I would like to ask God why he did it the way he did it.
Let us know.
But, but also Job. Okay, let's run that down we run this rabbit just a little bit. What did Job constantly want to do through the entire book of Job?
He did.
He wants an audience with God and say, why are you doing this? When he finally gets an audience with God, what is Job's response? Oops, I will put my hand over my mouth and I will say no more because I have sinned. Job had wrong thoughts about God, just like his buddies did, okay? So I want to be careful questioning why God does what he does. Because in the end, I'm going to be, I'm sticking on here. Okay. But there's something going on here, origins wise, okay? Sexual sin, they practiced sorcery, and they were very oppressive and violent people, okay? God has given them time for their sin to take its full measure, okay? So, just from a standpoint of of God letting Israel know where they're going. What is he using Israel? What purpose is Israel fulfilling in relation to the people of Canaan in them occupying the promised land? What are they doing?
Fulfilling the curse.
They're fulfilling the curse. They're fulfilling God's wrath on them. Okay? He's using them to do that. And we're not going that far, because this is not even in Genesis. But if you start reading the conquest of Canaan, it's pretty violent. It is severe. Kill everybody. Don't, women, children, kill them all. Kill them all. Destroy them all. This is severe. And part of what God is doing here is Israel understand the context. Understand the context. Let's just, from a human perspective, is hell pretty severe? Yeah. It's pretty. Why would anybody do that? How could somebody be so bad to deserve that? What's the problem with that statement?
All bad.
Well, everybody's bad. Huh?
We're all already that bad.
We're already that bad, and we
We were born
can't.
that bad.
Yeah, and we can't see it. We don't have God's perspective on things. And when we look at that, it's like, it didn't deserve that. But we don't look at sin from God's perspective. We look at sin from our perspective, which is the only perspective we have. And we need to God's given us His Word so that we can see it from God's perspective. So I think part of this is God giving Israel some context. Okay? It's kind of like, we were all around for Desert Storm. Okay? When General Tartikoff, what was his name? Schwarzkopf. So when Storm and Norman wanted to go in there at the end and just wipe them out. Did we do it? Nope. Why?
Politicians.
The politicians didn't have the stomach for it, and we paid the price. Okay, and why did Israel kick everybody out of Canaan?
No.
Why?
Didn't have the stuff.
They didn't have
Didn't have the stomach for it. He didn't have the stomach for it. He's laying this context. So this is what's going on. Okay, so that's kind of where we are with this. Now, let's run through this a little bit. Noah gets off the boat. I'm gonna plant a garden. Boy, that was a stupid idea. He plants a garden. In particular, what does he do? He plants grapes. And what do you do with grapes?
Make wine.
Makes wine. And what does wine make? What's in wine?
Fermented.
It's fermented. Okay? And I have seen people try to do all kinds of backflips to give Noah an out. Oh, he didn't know what fermentation was. That was He knew, even if you say that fermentation didn't come about until death entered into the world, because fermentation has dying in it. When did death enter the world? At the fall. And we got multiple generations. This has been going on a long time. People have been getting drunk for a long time. Knows what happens when he drinks his wine. And what does he do?
He gets
He gets hammered. He gets so hammered that he falls out into his tent. He's gotten hot and sweaty. He falls out of his tent, takes his robes off, and he's laying there in his tent, butt naked. But that's what's going on. I mean, that's what's going on. And Ham comes walking into the tent, and what does he see? Well, not that. What does he do? Ha ha! And then he goes running out to tell His brothers, okay? What's he telling his
Is
brothers?
he 12 years of age or less? Because, I mean, I can kind of see that, but he's
He's a
12.
grown man.
Had a son.
And if you've been in Redneck South, you see him, yeah, but the point is, he looks at this and what's his response? Mocking, making fun of, laughing at. Okay, there's contrast. He goes out, when he goes and tells his brothers, why is he telling his brothers? Let's get in his head a little bit.
You think
Why
they're
is he
gonna
telling
laugh
them?
too, or something?
Hmm?
To include them in on the joke?
On the joke. He includes him in on the joke. Look at my sorry dad. Look at what's happened to him. You think this is the first time this has happened?
No.
Might have been the worst time, but it's not the first time it's happened. Ham's laughing at him. He goes out and gets his brothers. What do his brothers do?
Covered him up.
They covered him up.
How do they cover him up? They just come, oh, Dad, look
With their
at
eyes
you.
turned away from him.
Keep their eyes turned away. It says they put a shawl over their shoulders. They walk backwards so they would not even glance, and they cover him up. Okay, what's their attitude?
They're being respectful.
Respect and honor. Even in this very embarrassing situation, whereas Ham's laughing, they're embarrassed for their dad. Okay, now, think about this. I don't have the specific verses on this, but there's a thing about nakedness and not seeing nakedness in the law. That you are not to see another person's nakedness, that it's to be covered, to protect the honor. Okay? So let's kind of kick this around a little bit. Ham's laughing at, making fun of his dad for his drunkenness. Shem and Jephthah are embarrassed for him, but they want to cover it. Okay? Why is Ham laughing at his father in that situation? What's going on in Ham's heart? What's going on in his mind?
He's got conflict.
Ego.
I heard ego,
Disrespect for his father.
disrespect for his father. What do you think Ham's attitude is about getting in that kind of situation? Why does he think it's funny and looking down at his father? What's his attitude about himself?
Better.
I'm better than that. I'd never do that. Look at my stupid drunk dad.
But you know what, Ed, when you think about it, took Noah, what, 75 to 100 years to build the ark? And he's tossed around in a boat for almost a year. Makes me wonder how many of us would be a Noah after we had a chance.
Right. I think, and that's an important thing. There's an important takeaway. I want to run down that, but when you, this is where the gut check comes. What's your attitude towards people that are caught up in sin?
Shouldn't be hams.
Shouldn't be.
Judgmental. Judgmental.
Judgmental. They're down here, I'm up here. Laughing at, let's see. Proverbs 24, 17 and 18. Do not rejoice when your enemy falls, and let not your heart be glad when he stumbles, lest the Lord see it and be displeased and turn away his anger from him. But how many times do we look at those people and laugh at their circumstance or find pleasure in their downfall? Or, remember when was it Katrina that hit New Orleans?
Yeah.
What did all the fundamentalists say?
They deserved it.
God's wrath.
It was God's wrath on New Orleans because of urban speakers. Well, then why hadn't they hit 78 out here? You know, we're so much better. You can see an attitude towards Hollywood, and the perversion and the looking down on. The problem is, like you said, if I was in the same situation, I might have been the number.
Well, the other thing is, if you're looking at someone else's sin, you don't have to look at your own, so who knows what was going actually on with Pam too.
Right. Right. And, and I've seen situations where you got a drunk father. Son doesn't have any respect for, I'm better than that, my sorry dad, and what does the son turn into?
Or
The same thing, or even worse.
I think of preachers' kids. You hear so often, preacher's kid is the worst kid in the class.
Because they hang out with the deacon's kids.
There's some truth in that.
They get put up on a pedestal. And there can be an attitude, it's crazy some of the stuff that's coming out, in things that have been happening in churches. I don't need to throw stones at other denominations. We got enough junk in our own denomination. But you have pastors that think it's okay, that what I'm doing is okay. It's not sin. I mean, there was a church in Dallas, and they would not tell us who it was, the church, the name of the church, or who the pastor was. But pastor had to leave. He left because he was in an adulterous relationship. He had to resign because he was for infidelity. The new pastor comes in, discovers that there was sex rings throughout the church. What was going on with the pastor just kind of filtered into the congregation, and crazy stuff. Just all kinds of craziness. And we can look at that and like, well, that would never happen here. It can. I would never do that. I remember hearing the story about one pastor. He's given a television interview, and he's being asked about sexual immorality and stuff like in the pulpit and stuff like that. And the guy says, I don't have to worry about that. I'm beyond that temptation. Guess what? 9 months later, he's walking away from his church in disgrace because he was in an adulterous relationship with the church secretary or something like that. We have to be careful. And I want to read something here. This is a Psalm 139. We're going to be very familiar with a lot of this, but maybe not together. That's 38. O Lord, you have searched me and know me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before I was But even before a word is on my tongue, behold, all, O Lord, you know it altogether. You hem me in behind I am before, and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high, I cannot attain it. Where shall I go from your spirit, or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light about me, be night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is bright as the day, for darkness is as the light with you. It's a celebration of God's presence with David. Okay, then he goes on from there. Why? For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. Every Sanctity of Life Sunday, preachers all over the United States are preaching from that passage right there. Okay. Then, how precious to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. If I would count them, they are more than the sand. I awake and I am still with you. Oh, that you would slay the wicked, O God. O men of blood, depart from me. They speak against you with malicious intent. Your enemies take your name in vain. I do not hate those who do I not hate those who hate you, O Lord? And do I not loathe those who rise up against you? I hate them with complete hatred. I count them enemies. Okay, don't look up. Don't read any further. Look up. Okay, what's David saying right there?
Get them, God.
Get him, God. I love you, God. You formed me. You never turn your back on me. You're always with me. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And get those that hate him, and I hate them too.
Get the sinners.
Okay? That's what he's saying. But then notice what he says in verse 23. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any what?
Wicked way.
Grievous or wicked way in me, and lead me in the way of everlasting. Yeah, he's saying get him, God, but what is he also willing to do? He's also willing to say, God, look at me, and deal with the sin and the iniquity in me. But where do we often stop?
Get them.
At get him, God. We stop at get him, God, because we don't want to deal with what's going on in me. And I think what you're seeing in him, like I said, this is origins. What is Ham's attitude towards his father's sin as opposed to his own sin? Judgment towards his father's sin, but what about himself? Excuse me, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm better than that. So therefore I can laugh at my dad. I can laugh at his situation. Okay? And out of that, when Noah comes to his senses and sobers up, takes a shower, what's he do? Passes a curse on Ham, but he uses Canaan. Why is he using Canaan? Because Moses is writing to Israel, and they're to go in conquest of Canaan. Okay? So he's laying their context. Okay? But he lays out the blessings and the curses. how does Ham's attitudes towards his father's sin and his own sin, how does that lay a foundation for where Canaan ends up?
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
And as it continues to fester, what happens? It gets worse. It gets worse. You know, I forget what class it was I was taking in seminary, but the professor basically said, he says, you don't have to worry about the nutcase professor that's spouting off all the goofy stuff. You gotta worry about his grandchildren. Because you got the one guy, and he's the nutcase and stuff, and espousing all kinds of crazy stuff, but he's just one guy. But so he's kind of kept in check, but he's got students, right? Okay, and the students grab onto that, and what do students always do? They run with it. They take it a little bit further, and then they get students, and what do? They start there, and what? Run with it. So you have this foundation that begins with Ham of a lackness towards towards his own sin, and condescension and judgmentalism towards everyone else, and it festers over time, over these generations, and you end up with a group of people that are caught up with idolatry, child sacrifice, sexual sin, sorcery, oppression, and violence. It's run its course. And now what does God do? What does he do with Israel? He uses them as the judgment. He uses them as the judgment. So, gut check time. What should our attitude be towards the people around us caught up in sin and the sin we see in this world?
We should love them as much as God loves us.
That's
Or we should be asking God to look at us, search us.
because we can easily go down that path. Well, I'm a good Christian, so therefore I'm okay. But we have, maybe we're not sacrificing children, but we're excusing all kinds of sin in our life because we've convinced ourselves that we're better than that. And the reality is we're not. We're not. And I think that's where in the same vein, why was Shem and Jephthah's response to it what it was? It's not just respect towards their father, but it's a realization that, hey, I could be right there in that same boat.
I think they never broke honor to their father, because Ham had already broken a commandment that hadn't been written yet. And that's to honor your father and mother. So they never broke their honor with their father.
And but there's a lot going on there, and you have that, and but just a realization of the vulnerability that we have, and I think because I tell you, all you got to do is turn on the television, or my Facebook and YouTube and everything is just inundated with crazy people.
Yep.
Listening to this.
Yeah. And I sleep a lot better at night when I don't watch the news. But I get these video feeds coming on my phone and stuff of showing these people that think that they're dogs, that guys that think that they're girls, and girls that think that they're guys, and all this stuff. And it's real easy to look at that and laugh, to have a sense of superiority. But as soon as I let that fester in my heart, whose path am I on? I'm on Ham's path.
Mhm.
And, so I think for me, as I'm reading through that, I'm seeing the conflicts, but also there's the warning that I have to see my own vulnerability. Because think about this. Where did Israel end up?
Captivity,
You can't, yeah.
In captivity. Why?
because they did the same thing as them.
They did the same thing.
Mhm.
They were falling into the exact same sins that Canaan was involved with. But they're the chosen people of Israel.
Mhm.
We're God's people, we're God's favorite, it's okay. And they turned a blind eye, and they turn a blind eye to the sin in themselves at the same time. What are they doing? What's their attitude towards the Gentiles around them? But it's the famous prayer of Jewish men. Thank you, God, that you did not make me a woman or a dog.
Mhm.
And when it says dog, that goyim is the word for dog, which is also the word for Gentile. So when he says, thank you, Lord, that you did not make me a dog, thank you that you did not make me a Gentile. And they're looking down on the Gentiles for the sin in their life. Wow, their life is full of sin.
But they never acknowledge God for who he really is.
And when we do that, we have to acknowledge who we are in relation to that. Anything else? That's all I got.
Feels good.
Hey, Mark.